Msi Vortex G25 review. Design and build. The G25 weighs just 2.5 kilograms and is 43 millimeters wide and 332 meters tall. It's barely bigger than a gaming notebook, and that means it compares very well to its rivals. The Zotac Mech 1, for instance, is 118 millimeters wide and 418 millimeters tall, and it weighs 8.9 kilograms. The Asus ROG GR82T017Z is 88 millimeters wide and weighs 3.7 kilograms, but it's a little shorter at 299 millimeters. And, if you want to go a step further in terms of size, the Lenovo IdeaCentre Y710 Cube is 252 millimeters wide but just 315 millimeters tall, with a 7.4 kilograms weight. The G25's versatility isn't there. There are 4 USB 3.1 ports and a Type-C connector divided between the front and back, and there's an HDMI port at the front for VR headsets. There's another HDMI connector and a Thunderbolt port at the rear, and 802.11 acres wireless is built in without any need for external aerials. There's no display port, however, and just 2 audio jacks, a laptop convention that falls behind most desktops. Performance. The MSI uses the mobile version of the GTX 1070, which has 2048 stream processors, more than the 1920 included in the desktop version of NVIDIA's card. However, the mobile GTX 1070 is clocked at 1443 MHz, which is a little lower than the 1506 MHz desktop version. The Vortex will have no problem playing games at 1080p. It waltzed through Tomb Raider at 87 FPS and Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor at 104 FPS. It handled those games at 1440p, too, with averages of 63 FPS and 72 FPS. All of these scores easily beat the Asus, which makes do with a GTX 1063GB card. The GTX 1070 is a great card for single-screen gaming, and it has enough power for VR headsets too. It won't run most games at 4K, though. It handled Tomb Raider and Shadow of Mordor at 34 FPS and 37 FPS, but their minimum frame rates dipped below 30 FPS. Tougher games such as Fallout 4 and Deus Ex saw averages a long way below 30 FPS, too. Despite that, there's still plenty to like. It has 6 hyper-threaded cores, so it won't have any issues with multitasking, and it runs at a solid 3.2 GHz. Turbo increases that pace to 4.3 GHz on all 6 cores and 4.6 GHz on a single core. The Core i7-8700 returned scores of 5,153 and 21,899 in the single and multi-core Geekbench tests. The Coffee Lake chip may be a little slower than the K Edition chip, but those results are still excellent. The single-core score is a few hundred points ahead of the Zotac Mech 1's i7-7700K chip, and it's also ahead of the Core i5 chip in the Asus machine. The biggest gains come in the multitasking test, where the Msi's score is thousands of points quicker than its rivals. That's a key indicator of the jump to 6 cores, and it means that the Vortex will handle any general-purpose computing task, many work applications as well as the latest games. That's good news, but in some other tests the MSI was mediocre. The Samsung PM871 SSD is a SATA drive that returned read and write speeds of 545 MB per second and 517 MB per second. That's better than any hard disk, but drives such as the homegrown 240 GB part inside the Zotac are several times quicker.